Hey everyone, it's me Joe. Today I'm going back to basics and I'm recreating some of my basic techniques for you guys that have just joined my channel and all the people that have asked me to repeat them. Back in the day I started a channel called JH Cosmetics because I was building a cosmetics line which you guys know is going amazingly. Check out the promos on JH Cosmetics right now to see where I'm going with my line, my brushes I use in my tutorials and everything's coming together. So today I'm talking you through how I use my contouring to sculpt the face. When I think about beauty, what I think about is symmetry, and I think about where I want the kind of character to come from, which reference am I going to use. For me, I have a very oval face, and when I look up, I have a very strong jaw, I have very big features, I'm odd looking, I've got different kinds of proportions. I just want it to look proportionable and I want everything to look symmetrical. That's what I'm concerned about. When you kind of get all those aspects right, I think that's when people think, wow, that person looks great. That's a great idea. I'm much more interested in that, and I'm much more interested in wearing a perfect base than I am in wearing a perfect eye. I really don't care that much about wearing dramatic glitters and all this craziness and lashes every day. I'm not that person. I just want it to look right and symmetrical. So when I go into makeup, that's what I think about first, and I build up on top of that. And I think especially doing drag makeup, especially doing more celebrity clients that I've done at the moment, it's interesting when you compare what they do to what you do, because I think people need less than they think they do to achieve the same result. So I kind of start off minimalist, but I build up and I kind of start from there. Now I've already applied my makeup today, but I'm going to apply it on top of this, so it might come out a little bit heavy. You would apply this on a clean face, but I just wanted to start like this, just to kill a few birds with one stone today and do a few tutorials. The benefit of using cream products to sculpt out first, and you know I'm a fan of the Dermacolor. I have some in my kit, I have some for me. I use them all the time, I use them with my family, I take them out with me if I'm going out at night to touch up. They're brilliant, you can do loads with them. I love them because you can really shape the face, and I use different colours to what you would expect. I think people get confused with colour and shade. I don't think people need to worry about the colours of the contours of the highlights. The darker your skin tone, the more saturated they should be, but when you're my skin tone, it's about getting the shades right. I tend to use a lot more heavier contour in my nose than I need because I like the look of it. But what I generally use is a more almondy, kind of walnut coloured contour instead of like a tan. The kind of colour that looks like shadow. So when I contour the face like this, and I haven't got like a heavy contour on at all, I want it to bring out my cheekbones, I want it to bring out my temples, I want it to bring out my nose and make my nose in the centre of my face. I want it to make my eyes taller because I don't really have a crease. All these things play into it. I want a stronger jawline. So I apply the contours where I think that's right. Then I'm going with my foundation everywhere else. Then I colour correct where I need to, so I put more of a peachy orange tone around the lips, around the eyes. Then, once I've blended it through, you should not be able to see where your contour starts and where your highlight starts. It should be seamless, and when we want to accent that, that's when we use the powders to double up the contour. So that's really when we start building up the definition. So I'm going to show you today how I do that and where I put the contours and where I put the highlights. Taking my Dermacolor powder, and this is just the Dermacolor set powder, the weatherproof, which I live for, it's amazing. And I'm using a pink powder by Ben Nye. Pink has a brightening effect, it just makes things look prettier. So once we have our powders together, what I'm looking at is I'm looking at making the nose look smaller. Most people use shadows down the sides. I think you can see it when you use shadows on the side. I don't think you can see it as much when you use a highlight, so I use a kind of reverse contour method. I place up to where I want my nose to look slimmer. I also colour in where my nose is a little bit bent because it's broken, and I bring that down to the cheek, so when we're looking from the front, my nose looks slim, but also when I'm looking at the side, my nose looks slim. It doesn't look like you have a tiny nose from the front and a long brown nose from the side. So you see where I'm going with this. It's more about using 3 dimensions, and I like it because you can extend it here and you can join it seamlessly into here. So I've completely missed the nostril. I don't want to colour that in white. We want it to look darker than this because we want it to look like a nostril. But we can shorten or sculpt the nostril by doing the same. You just bring it down here. So you can clearly see where I applied that, I hope. Then I would apply it under the cheekbone, so we're using white to accent the contour of the cheek. And I would use it down the bridge of the nose. If you want to make your nose look more feminine and you kind of like the way that genuinely, if you have an overhanging brow bone, you have a shadow here, so in guys it's more traditional to have a brow ridge there. That's where that kind of like the extension of the nose highlight comes into it, because you actually paint through the shadow and it gives the illusion your face is flatter and more feminine. This can be a blessing or a curse because it can make your forehead look bigger, but if you're clever about it, you can give a more feminine kind of technique. So I would always bring it up through here. And you can do this in white, you can do this in yellow if you have a darker, more yellow skin tone. If you're pale, just use white, or if you don't like the harshness of white, you can use the pink rosy colour. Loads of Asian products come in the pinker colour because it neutralises yellow and looks brighter, but it's better for paler skin tones. So then we're going in with the contours, and I'm going to apply this much heavier than I would need. Choose a contour that you think looks best on your skin tone. I would go with something that's more neutral, maybe like Omega if you want a natural one. But for the benefit of this tutorial, I'm going to use my huge bronzer by Vivo. Now I'm going to apply this from the outside of the cheek, outside of the temple to the forehead. So we're rounding the shapes off and reducing that shape along the jawbone. And then if you want to, just on the tip of the nose, I wouldn't go from the top to the bottom if you want a natural look, I would just do it like that. And it's all about making things look softer, rounder, more defined. So then, once you've got everything in, you blend it through with a large fluffy brush. I just use one from my range. I can't wait till I start selling these, by the way. You hope to buy them. Right. So you can go as extreme or as natural as you want with this, and then we blend. After you blend everything out, and you can do that to your heart's content, what I do is I will kind of cover up any textural problems or anything that looks too powdered with shimmer. If I look kind of silvery on camera, it's because I've used this one I made myself. It's kind of like a blue reflex colour, but it's in an old pigment jar, and this one is the one I use all the time, and it's a rose gold colour by MAC. Just to give some definition and some texture. If I want to add any colour to my skin, I tend to use blush that's in a kind of neutrally colour. Bourjois, MAC do a few of these, Vivo do a few of these. Just a baked product with a little bit of shimmer in, and I apply this between the contour and the highlight, and this just kind of adds a softening effect but also a little bit of colour. So that's really how I contour and highlight, how I apply my foundations, even though I didn't show you that stage. I wanted to show you more my technique than my application process, so hopefully you appreciated that one. If you have any questions, find me on Facebook, and definitely subscribe to see more. You kind of apply what I just said, tweak the angles, tweak the positions to transform your face in the way I do, and hopefully you can see from more angles it's beat to capacity. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching that. I'll see you all soon, and take care.